Everybody, you all did an amazing job this week. I had office hours and Leanne showed up and showed me some code that was being worked on. I didn't review that PR, but it looked great. And we got to like talk about accessibility and stuff. And I don't know if you all have it on Chrome, but if you don't have Accessibility Insights as the Chrome extension installed, I highly recommend you get it. When you are on any page that you're developing or any site across the internet, you can click that and run what they call a fast pass, and that will look through the entire site and flag a bunch of accessibility concerns. And not only does it tell you where you're violating accessibility concerns, it'll tell you exactly how to fix it and link you to the documentation on why that is, an accessibility guideline that needs to be followed and stuff. So it's really helpful when you're building apps to make sure that it's accessible. You don't have to know off the top of your head how to make it accessible. You can just run it through the check and let the check tell you. So that's something that's good to do if you have not done it. Eve has been hosting some incredible tech talks. If you haven't come to those, I highly recommend those as well. They're like such a wide range of topics, but this last week we watched this fella go through a demo of his product that he's built, and it's basically a product that allows you in a UI to piece together an app, and then it generates the React code for you. So he recreated one of the Collab Lab projects and showed us how the tool worked, and it was really cool. And we've done some on like accessibility tools, and there's more coming up. There's a really important one coming up that you should all come to if you can on negotiation. Eve, do you know a little bit more about what's happening in that one?
So actually, it sounds like that talk was the upcoming talk is going to be rescheduled. So
okay.
I think what we're going to have next, if everything goes well, so I'm going to knock on wood, it's going to be a talk on user experience. I think it's going to be, we have by Michelle Williams. She is going to be like, what is user experience? Because that's a big question, right? So that's going to be what the next one is going to be about, I think.
That's amazing. And what I love most about that is I feel like if you go into an interview and you can talk about development from the user experience standpoint, it's like a huge leg up that you have on people who like don't consider that. Like if you can show that like human empathy and that you care about building products for the user, that's like a really great angle to take and like is somebody you want to be a part of your team. So come to that, pick up some nuggets of wisdom, apply those to your future as a developer, and think about user experience. It's really important. We're all users, we all know.
Absolutely. And I just posted in the channel, like in the Learning Together channel, the link to the YouTube video, the YouTube recording of the talk we had this week with Yang Zhang about Plasmic. So if you want to check out that amazing demo that Yang gave us about how to use Plasmic, and essentially like just you design more than you code your application. It's yeah, check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like that's the second time I saw him do a demo of his product, and every time I'm like, God, why are we even developing when this tool can do something like this? But it's kind of the future of development. It's kind of like Webflow, how it lets like anybody sort of build an app. So it's awesome. Okay, big things happening. We're getting like near the end of this cohort. How? When did this happen? It is like flown by, and I feel like it's going quicker and quicker as the weeks go on. So what we will do today is demos as usual, and we'll run through a retro this week over what's happened in the last 2 weeks and what we can improve going forward in these next couple. And then we'll go over next week's issues. So without further hesitation, does anybody want to volunteer to demo first?
Me and Mabel, we can go.
All right, let's see it.
All right.
Can you see my screen?
Yep. Okay. So for our story this week, we were tasked with creating the functionality to be able to delete a list item off of a user's current list So we're going to start with that. So for example, if the user were to click the delete button on one of the list items, it's going to prompt the user and ask them if they're positive that they essentially want the item to be removed. If the user clicks OK, as Mabel's going to show, the item disappears. It's gone. And if you refresh, the item does not come back. So it really is gone. And Mabel's going to demonstrate as well. If we were to click the cancel button instead of the OK button as the user, the item remains. Okay. Just getting to the code, the main portion for the most part that we made adjustments to was the list component. We created the functionality, the delete item function, with the confirm window.confirm that actually generates the prompting with the message there. And as far as deleting the items specifically off of the database, going through the Firebase documentation, it actually provided us with the majority of the code for that, starting at line 54 on the way down. And yeah, from 54 pretty much to 65. That was directly off of the Firebase documentation. Going down further down the screen, let's see, yeah, starting at pretty much line 96, that's where we create the button that generates on each list item. And you see the on click that basically is going to run the delete item function. We use the item's ID as the main thing to grab to be able to delete the item. And that's pretty much it for the most part.
I love it. This is beautiful. Whenever I reviewed the code, I was like, this is so clean and perfect. And I love hearing about you using the documentation, because if you're working with a tool that's great documentation, it can save you so much time and effort. So really great find on that. One thing that I want to point out too here, you guys did this perfectly. This is A plus, great, good to go. Leanne and I were talking about building custom hooks in React, and I kind of wanted to take it and apply to how you might use it in a setting like this in the future. So in this app right now, we're only deleting the item from one place, right here where you put the button. But say down the line, your users wanted to delete the item from the item view, and they wanted to be able to like select all and delete from a button in the top of the page, and you're able to delete the button from a few different pages or places. Well, in that case, you can take all that functionality that you built right here, pull it out and put it into a custom hook. So you build your own React hook, and then you can basically take any of the information you need that hook to have, like the item ID or whatever else it might need, pass it into that hook, run it through this function, and return whatever it needs to return. So it's a really nice way to kind of extract a piece of code like this and make it reusable across the app and sort of clean up components. So you did this perfect because you're only using it in one place, and you don't really want to like start extracting things just for the sake of extracting them. But in the future, if you did find that you needed this functionality or the functionality that the other teams created, you can always pull that out and make a beautiful little custom hook.
Cool,
But
cool.
amazing work this week. Really, really great. Any other questions on that one?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was anything that was like particularly challenging, or just was it just like smooth sailing and just like, yep, I got this. Here we go.
No, it wasn't too difficult this time. I think yeah, the documentation was just pretty much the only thing where we were just like just wondering what would be the best case, and the documentation just pretty much wrapped it up in a gift for us and just said, hey, here you go, here it is.
I love that. I love that so much. So much of your job in the future might be reading through documentation and figuring out how to apply it. So I feel like the sooner that you can get familiar with like kind of how documentation tends to flow, the better, because you'll see the same kind of patterns across like many different tools. But incredible work this week. Are we ready for pair number 2?
Yeah, Leah.
All right.
Share your screen. All right. So there we go. So as you can see, ours was a little bit more so visually for the user. So right now we have our items in 3 different colors, red, orange, and green. Red is for soon, yellow for kind of soon, and green for not so soon. And so if you add an item, you will see, let's just add whatever, doesn't matter. Perfect. And then kind of soon, and then we submit it. We go back to our list. You'll see that walnut appears and it's already in alphabetical order. So it does that for you. So you don't have to like click on something to sort it into that. So if we look at the code, we had to do a couple different things. So first we decided to assign CSS properties to the classes. And so if we, so then we had to figure out how do we get these class names. So we made this function called get class names, which takes next purchase and last purchase. And so it looks at the, for inactive, we have to do twice the amount of the last purchase or something. I don't really remember what the AC was, but we did that basically on lines 54 through 58. And then lines 60 to 67, we just did some if else to see what next purchase would be to return the soon, kind of soon, and not so soon. And then in app CSS, you can see we just did some very, very simple CSS colors, which can be changed. We just did that for now. And then if we go back to list, we also, we updated our area label. So now we have something called get aria, which takes the class name and a name. And so if the class name is inactive, it's going to return a statement of like, hey, this item is inactive. And then if not, it's going to return that this item will need to be purchased soon, kind of soon, not so soon. So that's basically what we did for that. And then to sort it, we had 2 different sorting methods. And so the first sorting that we did was by the next purchase. So just a simple sorting. And then the next one was by the class names to get them in alphabetical order. And that's it.
I love this. One question that I have is, do you feel like how do you feel this issue was as far as time commitment? Did it feel heavier than most? Did it feel too heavy? Were you able to do it in the amount of time you expected? Tell me more about that.
I don't think it felt too heavy. I think what still confuses me is this estimate function that we have, this calculate estimate function. Because when we were looking at it, there's what is it? Latest interval, I think it might be. There's just some confusion about it and exactly like what it's doing. And since we used it last week to make our next purchase calculation, if we need that, Scott brought it up in the review, like if next purchase, if we need that, or if we just can go with frequency, just trying to like wrap my head around like what exactly tying everything together.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's like long been confusion around this aspect of the project. So if you think of any ways to like make that more straightforward, let us know. I'm probably going to run it by mentors too, to be like, can you look at this? And I think a lot of the confusion mostly comes from like naming things, right? Like if the names were more intuitive, it might be easier to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But this is great. And I particularly love how you put a lot of extra love into making those ARIA labels like really good. So excellent work there. Anybody else have questions or thoughts, comments on this one?
I think Leanne, you forgot to mention that we also added the number of purchases
Yes.
to our items. So now we can calculate, so now the number of purchases is dynamic. Before we just use like hard-coded 1 as the number of purchase every time. And now the number of purchases is dynamic now.
Yes.
I love that. I feel like this one in particular, there are so many like hidden little pieces of the puzzle like that you have to find and figure out like how to implement on your own. This one is like a challenging one. You all did it incredibly. So really great job. Other thoughts on this one?
I guess I'm a bit curious about, so in the CSS, I know that the CSS, it's fairly straightforward, but if we could just take a look, I guess my question is, how did you make the decision of using this color? I mean, because in CSS, there's lots of different ways to define a color. There's like, you can use either like a hexadecimal value, or you can use like RGB, or you can actually use a name like you did. So how did you go about this? Did you just go, oh, I got this, I'm just going to type in the color name and it worked? Or I'm just curious about that process.
I mean, I know just from personal experience with CSS, there's certain colors that are already given. And I figured since CSS is going to be more later on to like how to make things look, we just needed to do something quick and easy. And just this was quick and easy. And I feel like red, yellow, and green are kind of like the basic colors, and then gray, inactive, that's kind of universal. We did orange just because yellow wasn't showing up. It was really hard to read. Red is also when we use the accessibility Chrome extension, red is also coming up as an error, but that's more so because of the font size. So like I said, that can be changed in the future. This was just more so just showing something for the demo.
For sure. I love that. We'll totally dive deep into like designing this in a really accessible way in a few weeks. So really great work here. Excellent job to both pairs this week. This was incredible work. The app is really coming together nicely, and I love to see it. So with that, is it like super loud? Sorry, y'all. We will move on to retros. And I'm sorry, I did not look who is in charge of retros this week. So it's Eve. Eve is in charge of retros. So over to Eve.
Yeah, that guy over there. Thank you, Stacy. Well, so yeah, it's been 2 weeks already since our last retro. So I'm gonna post in our channel a little link straight to the retro board that Scott very kindly created earlier. I think it was today or yesterday. I think he created it yesterday. So anyway, and I see already that there's a bunch of notes, I guess I will call them notes, that were written already. But yeah, just for good measure, I'll give us about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, or until we're all done, so that you can provide your input for retro. So in the meantime, I'll just do the Jeopardy song, I guess.
Thanks, Eve. Yeah, I definitely need time to write some. Okay. Ready, go. Thank you.
All right, now I'm sharing my screen, at least that part of my browser that's showing the retro board. So we can even have like the live updates and everything. Technology. Okay, I think if I can count, which might not be a guarantee actually. So I think that everybody got their feedback on the board. So let me know if I'm being crazy and you actually didn't. Okay,
I just
so
put my last one.
all right. So yeah, it sounds like I can count after all. Good, good. That's
Really good job, Eve.
Oh,
Proud of you.
thank you, Stacy. You know, it's kind of funny because I've been doing some 3D work lately for work, and I can.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I'm trying to place 3D objects in a space, and I have to use pi and radius, and I'm just like, I have no idea. It's like
Yeah.
geometry, like my good old nemesis. So anyway,
Hard no. No,
yeah,
no, no.
it's pretty fun. 3D in the web is a really cool thing to do. But
Oh, it's so impressive. Like, even just hearing about you doing it, I'm like wildly impressed. I can't imagine. I literally can't imagine. I can barely wrap my head around like animation, let alone 3D.
right, exactly.
Wild.
It's like, what? Your browser can just play a 3D game and it's just fine? Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. So anyway, but this is not what we're here to talk about. So let's go. I know, I love tangents. They're just, I don't know. So let's start with appreciation. Then it sounds like Mabel is the first one that has some appreciation shout outs for us. So you can go ahead.
Sure. So I really love how last week we came together to debug rendering issue that we were all having, and just everyone had like their different ideas, and we managed to put a fix together. And so I think that was super cool.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Any thoughts on that?
I love that one too. Like coming from somebody who's been around Collab Lab since the beginning, seeing this kind of teamwork on this particular team has been so inspiring and uplifting, because this is exactly what we want to see. And I like, you all just did it on your own without being prompted, and it was beautiful and perfect. And I think everybody learned and benefited. So amazing work there.
Most definitely. All right, thank you, Stacy. I think you're next on some
more from me.
Feedback
Okay.
there.
Okay, so I super duper appreciate you all surfacing confusion on AC. I know I've said it before, and I probably sound like a broken record, but at Collab Lab, we like fully grow through feedback. Everything that Collab Lab has been built on has been feedback from somebody in the past. So keep the feedback coming. If something doesn't make sense, let us know. If you have ideas, let us know, because that's the way we make this really great for future collabbies, and for you in the meantime. So thank you for asking the questions when you're confused and not just like shooting in the dark and trying to figure it out yourself. We're totally here for you. Thank you. Also, I appreciate you for heading up Tech Talks. I think that is an incredibly brilliant addition to Collab Lab, and I've learned a lot from it, and I hope that collabbies have too. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stacy. It's my pleasure. All right, next is Fabrice.
Yeah, I also just wanted to echo the appreciation for the Tech Talks.
I'm gonna blush. All right, thank you so much, Fabrice. Much appreciated. Yeah, and there's plenty more to go. So you know, every other week you'll have plenty to learn. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Stay tuned, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. All right, Leah, do you want to tell us what you wanted to talk in terms of appreciation and shout outs?
Yeah, it was a great experience solving that bug together last week. That was a true like Collab Lab experience. Oh, that's effort, not error. I hope we can find some time figuring out the why behind the bug together. Thank you, Eve.
Oh yeah. Wait. I can't see. Oh, there you go. Effort. Oh, there you go. No, it was really close. All right.
I really appreciate all the teammates' effort and patience. I learned a lot from you guys, from programming and reading the code.
Awesome. Yes, that's great. That's great to hear. Like this work together is definitely awesome. All right, and then we have Scott, who wanted to let us tell us more. Like you have two shout outs, it looks like.
Yeah, so again, shout out to the whole team for coming together to fix that infinite re-render, and especially to Mabel and Leah, because they were the drivers that found those solutions and put them together that fixed it. I know there's still some questions and work to do maybe there, but that was awesome to see. And then just to Stacy, like you're like everywhere all the time, and I'm just like, it's amazing. I wish I could do that.
Oh yes, yes, she is everywhere. Literally, I think I see her in every meeting I am in. All right, thank you so much, Scott. And Leanne, I think you have the last shout out for us.
Yeah, so shout out to the team and Scott, and combining our brain power together to solve last week's bug. I'm really glad we came together to fix that. And then shout out to Stacy as well, for her advice during office hours this week. Just clarifying some things that I had some confusion about, and then making a plan for like what can happen with the project in the future, and like how to clear up some of the files, and yeah, and making custom hooks. So things that can happen in the future once like the official 8 weeks are done, basically.
Ooh, I love to hear that. Like the continuity of the project. Ooh, it's going beyond 8 weeks. That is amazing. That's a great.
I love to point this out, and I just want to take a quick second to do it, but it's like, if you have ideas for the app, this is fully your app. This is your app that you can work on forever. You can like take a fork of it and start like completely going off and doing whatever you want with it, or you can continue working on this one. You can create like feature requests and issues in GitHub. This is like your project, so do with it whatever you want. Just because the 8 weeks is over doesn't mean you have to stop. It of course is full permission to just stop and be done. But if you don't want to, this is yours. You built it, and you've done such a good job.
Yeah, and you absolutely did a great job, and it's open source, so you can fork it and you can tweak it and you can just merge it back in there if you want. There's a whole world of possibilities there. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad. It sounds like the work on this bug was very collaborative. So that's really nice to hear. That's really nice to hear. All right, so now we're gonna go into the category of what went well and what we should keep doing. So Mabel, if you can start, it would be great.
Sure. So I really look forward to getting feedback. I find that it's always really thoughtful and helpful, and I always learn a lot. But yeah, so thank you.
Awesome, cool. And Stacy is next. She has a couple of things.
So yes, let's see. I have to remember what I wrote. Oh my gosh. So again, been around the block a few times with Collab Lab, and your team has the best, most consistent, most concise, thorough, thought out, prepared demos that I've ever seen. Incredible job. Like, you consistently do like where one person shows and one person share like talks, and it's like, it's just so fluid that I would never even know two people were doing it. So brilliant teamwork, brilliant demos. I highly encourage you to like take these YouTube recordings and like add them to your portfolio. I was like, look at these demos I did. Or if you want to like go back and do like code walkthrough video demonstrations that are like all just you or something, that's brilliant too. You all present so well. So keep doing that. Let's see. Oh, everybody's been so committed. Like, I don't even have any more to say there. It's been incredible. Like, we haven't had to like, shift, partnerships or like wrap things up in a later week or anything. You've like been on time every time for everything you've had to do. So incredible job. Thank you for being so committed. I know it's like really hard times in the world, and I appreciate you all endlessly. So thank you. Keep up the good work. If you do feel like you need help or time or whatever you need, please let us know. We're fully here for you. And you're all navigating the tech with like flying colors. You're doing a brilliant job like sifting through documentation and putting like really solid solutions in place to some of these technical challenges. So really great job.
All right, thank you so much, Stacy. And yeah, I guess there's things we've been talking about in the last retrospectives too, which were about like how independent you are, and you still are. And so, but at this point, like we don't even put it in the retro because it's like it's a given. You just are. So it's amazing. So just continue doing that. All right. So Fabrice, it looks like you have something you wanted to share with the team.
Yeah, just mentioning that I feel as if with the suggestions we made for the last retro, I think we've been doing a good job of keeping up with pretty much most of them as far as like office hours and stuff like that. And um, I guess availability has always been good throughout the whole entire program thus far. So just, especially with last week, we just coming together to fix a bug. So I feel as if just all of that all together, we've been doing really good with.
All right, thank you, Fabrice. I'm so glad to hear that like we're following up with what we said we could improve. That's a good thing. That's a great sign of a healthy team. All right, and then Leah wanted to share something as well.
I just feel like the pace of our team, all the commits, review, improvement has been really good. I'm really glad that we can just keep on schedule, keep our rhythm. So let's finish this strong.
Nice.
I want to like verbally second that card. It is brilliant and perfect, and I wholeheartedly back that one.
Absolutely. That's very true. All right, Scott wanted to also tell us something about merge conflicts.
Yeah, so I think all the teams I've been on, merge conflicts have been quite a drama. And there's something you guys are doing where that just has not been the case. And I know that there's been, I've seen like conflicting files once in a while in the PRs. So I know that they're there. You guys are handling them just super smoothly.
Yeah, and I think also Stacy, like earlier in the whole program, you shared some sort of a bunch of commands, right, for merge
Yes.
like rebasing, and I think this solved a lot of issues for a lot of participants. I think so. That's pretty cool.
That's so good to hear, because I keep wanting to put together like a blog post on that, just like here's how to resolve merge conflicts, because that was something I struggled with a lot, like as a new developer. And like those notes are notes that have like evolved over time. I've like snagged little bits and pieces from like all of my mentors and like put them all into one. So kind of like make that and share it, like even just amongst collabs, like take this with you out into the world, or like when you're getting started at Collab Lab, here's how to resolve those. So I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah. I know it's been used a couple of times. I'm not sure if it's used anymore, but I remember it. So like especially with Fabrice, I remember we worked out of this to I'm losing my words, to resolve merge conflicts. So
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you all.
anyway, so all right, Leanne, you wanted to share a little something about office hours?
Yeah, I'm really glad for the office hours. I really like them on Thursday, a little later in the week, just because then it gives the teams time to, if there's something that's not making sense in the code, or if we find a bug, like it gives us enough time to, figure out our issues and what we need to fix. And then if we like get past that and our accepted criteria, like it's great to just talk about like, all right, well, what are next steps we can do in the code and for our project to make it more efficient. So yeah, thank you.
I love that. That's like brilliant feedback. Eve and Scott and I are like the first ones to do office hours, like official office hours. And so that's like secretly the feedback I was hoping to get. I was like hoping people would say that kind of thing, because I'm like really passionate about doing the office hours. So thank you for saying that. I will pass the word on to other mentors.
I also think the way you did office hours this week, where you are like, hey, I'm available, Slack me if you need the link to the Zoom, I think works very well. So then you're just not like sitting in a Zoom room. I'm just assuming, like for previous office hours, just waiting for someone. I kind of like that setup a little bit better, honestly.
Cool. That's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, that is really good to know for me, since I'm going to be the one doing office hour this week. So most definitely going to be doing it on Thursday and just make myself available throughout the day. So that is amazing feedback. So thank you for that. Much appreciated. All right, now we're gonna get into the third column, the dreaded one. No, it's not dreaded, but like we're gonna talk about like maybe things we can improve. So, Stacy, I think you are the first one in there.
Yes, I have two things. There's only one written down because one came up in my head as we were going through all this. But the first one is I would love to see more like public learning of things, even if it's like how like Mabel and Fabrice, you found most of your code from the documentation. Even if you write like, like we solved most of our issue this week just by copying and pasting from documentation, like sharing things in public like that so the rest of the team can see like how the work is done, like, or if you're like, oh, we were looking at some regex and I found this really great tool, or whatever you're coming across as you're learning, if you can share those in Slack, then the rest of your team can use those as resources, throughout their development career, or take a look at them now and just continue learning together. So if you come across interesting things, just share them in the channel. It can be willy-nilly. You don't have to share them in like threads or anything. And the other thing is, and I've like talked about this individually with some people too, but feel totally empowered to, if you have a bug that you find, create like an actual GitHub issue, and just practice detailing the bug and recreating the steps. Like you can write in there like the expected behavior versus the experienced behavior, like what you're actually experiencing right now, theories on what's causing it, what steps you think you might take to fix it. And then when you do go to fix it, you can close that issue. And then when you go into an interview or something, you have this nice little package of, I found this bug in this code, I detailed and documented the bug. This documentation is a huge like win for getting on a developer team. If you can be like, look how well I document. And then I went and actually solved it. And now I have this like great PR that talks about how I actually solved it. So it's like this nice little package that you can submit, kind of like a little portfolio. So feel empowered to create the GitHub issues as you come across bugs, or if you come across feature requests that you'd like to see in the app, create a GitHub issue for that too. And you can like make labels in GitHub, like if you want to create like a feature request label or something. Again, it's totally your project. Do with it what you will.
And Scott, did you want to say something about it?
I guess I just wanted to ask Stacy if this is an appropriate use of issues, or if this is a way to bounce off of that. Is sometimes the code is working fine, but there's like you might have ideas about refactoring it for some reason or another. Is that also something you do in a ticket like that?
Exactly. That is exactly right. So if you did like how we were talking about custom hooks today, if you're like, I want to move this chunk into a custom hook eventually, or like I want to look for a different solution to this filtering or something, definitely create an issue for that too. And again, make a label that says something like refactoring or something. It doesn't have to be a bug or feature request. It can just be some refactoring that you want to do. Great call, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Like issues can be a great like note to yourself in the future as well. Like that's definitely a good tool, because sometimes what happens when you're a developer is that you kind of have to keep track of so many things that you forget easily. And so having like a space where like, oh, this is all the things I want to work on, but I forgot, but here they are. So, when you finally have a little bit of time to work on that problem, then you can just find what you wanted to do again. So absolutely. Awesome. And so this next one is it's just a little thing because, and it might be on me, so I apologize if I'm just being completely blind, but it looks like you're really good at, when you have a PR open, like all your teammates are like you adding all your teammates to it, and it sounds like it's pretty good on that. But then I kind of lose track of like, okay, when am I supposed to do my review as a mentor? And so I'm wondering if it's just me missing something, or if there's like maybe pushing me for, hey, mentors, we're ready for a review. So I'm not sure if somebody can shed some light on this, I will take it.
I kind of noticed the same thing. I'll feel like that I'm missing them. And I think that a lot of times what'll happen, like this week, it wasn't quite ready for a mentor review, or like it had been reviewed by one pair member, like opposite pair. And I was like, okay, well, one person reviewed it and I'm here, so I'm going to jump in and review it anyway. So that's probably why nobody got tagged in that one, because it like had already gotten the mentor review before that. And I think that you and Scott have done that in the past too, where you've just like jumped in before it's been tagged and done it. So I think that it's kind of like a mixture of both. So like maybe what if we did this? What if instead of the original pair who put the PR up asking for mentor review, like the other pair say like, I reviewed it, now it's ready, like passing the torch. Like I reviewed your PR, so now it's ready for mentors. And like maybe just after one person reviews it, you know, so that we can make sure we're being timely. Does that sound like a good solution, or is that confusing?
Any thoughts? I think it's good. I like that idea. Any thoughts?
I like that. So it would just be like if one person from the pair reviews it and then just type in the Slack like, hey, I finished reviewing, you know, Mabel and Leah's code. Can you, you know, you can review it, you know, and just add out the mentors in the Slack then?
Yeah, I think so. I think like the first other person to review it, like still everybody should try to review it, but at least then we're like keeping the ball rolling. Just like pass the torch to the mentors after you review it.
I think that's a great idea because sometimes like I might get an approval at night and then I won't check it until the following day after work. So, and maybe if the person that did the approval, maybe they can tag the mentors. I think that would definitely save some hours.
I love it. Let's do that for sure. Can you drag that over into the like action items column?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it. Oh, I love all this new stuff. Like all these things we're talking about, like the good things, I'm going to like take them and share them with all the other teams. Like, hey, my team came up with really good ideas. You all should do these too.
Okay. So I guess it's going to be like the, how can we word this item?
Say like the first reviewer should tag in mentors.
Tag in mentor. Oh yeah, the first person. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
To tag
it's
in
just
mentor.
The first person to actually review it will be somebody from the other pair. So tag in mentors for review.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good. All right. Awesome. So yeah, everybody clear on that kind of like change on the process. So essentially, you know, so the pair creates a PR and asks for review, and hello, I got a little one over there. so all right, the pair opens a review, a PR, and asks for review from the other pair, and then when the other pair, kind of like one of the persons in the other pair does the review, then they can tag mentors. So that way, we might be saving some time of like this back and forth. So, all right, awesome, cool. Thank you so much, Stacy, for the suggestion. I really like it. All right, so Scott is next in what we can improve.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is really an improve, but I wonder if it's something that could help us. So like that mobbing that we did earlier this week, I wonder if that can help, like planning a call midweek or something for all four of you to sort of just like coordinate and look at what you're doing. And I think especially with the styling issues coming up now, like so you can sort of like plan your overall look because you're all going to be going off in different directions. So like having that that mob on the design can be helpful. My team found it helpful, and we started doing it like every Tuesday or something.
Yeah, it seems like kind of like, I feel like in a lot of the Collab Lab teams near the end, you all start kind of like grouping together like this because you start to see the benefits of like getting on the same page as a whole group. And like on a developer team, you'll usually have a similar kind of thing where you'll have like backlog grooming or like engineering syncs where you all just kind of like get on the same page. So I love that idea. If you guys implement that, that'd be amazing. Up to you.
Nice. Yeah.
And then the other thing I would want to say is I would hope that we could get commits more spread out between everybody, a little bit more evenly balanced, just to make sure like everybody's got their hands on the keyboard, and that can help you think more about the driver navigator pair programming and vice versa. So just something to think about because everybody deserves those green squares.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's a safe space, so it's okay to make mistakes and do silly things. I do all the time at work.
Same.
So yeah,
Same.
absolutely. So yeah, just don't hesitate to go for it. There's nothing to be worried about. All right, and next we have Leanne, who wanted to share a couple of things.
Yeah, so the first one's just for me personally. It's not for the group at all, but just like little bit better self-care and like understanding like just because I don't know something doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. Like right now the world is on fire in good old Portland. So it's just a little strange time. So it's okay to, you know, tell people like, hey, not the best right now. Sorry that my brain's not working. It's a little preoccupied. And then for the group, I loved when we came together, kind of just talking back to like what Scott just said, when we came together to solve our bug. And I hope we continue to do stuff like that. I just really enjoyed that approach of solving a problem and learning like that in a bigger group all together. I love that. So that'd be great if we could do that. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I mean there's definitely like you folks have been doing so great that there's no reason to continue and even do even, you know, like 200% like, you know, going all like a what's the word, beyond the sky. I don't even know if that's a phrase. That just probably doesn't make any sense.
You all have done a really great job working as a full team. I've been like endlessly impressed by your collaboration skills here. So great work.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you, everyone. So we've got one action item about tagging, the process for tagging mentors for the PRs. And we got so many good shout outs and like a lot of appreciation for the work as a team, especially on that nasty bug. So really cool, amazing job, everybody.
One thing that I want to point out too is like, oh, sorry. A lot of people mentioned that you liked working in that like big mob session. And so it's like, even if you all can't make it, if you set up the time and like just some of you can come or something, it's still valuable. So don't feel like, you know, like if you don't have time to do it or something, you can't, you know, just set something up. And if people show up, they show up. It's just give you a good chance to kind of get together.
Absolutely. All right, I'll relinquish control of the presentation. And who is doing next issues? All right, Scott, take it. Take control. It's all yours. Maybe it's time. Oh, there we go. I was gonna sing the Joe Party song again.
Scott, you're muted.
Oh,
I don't know if you intend to be or not.
Sorry, just having some issues there. All right, so our issues for this week, 13 and 14. So let's see here, let's expand this. Issue 13 is, as a user, I want to view details of my purchase to better understand the purchase patterns. The AC for this are, from these shopping lists, the user can tap, do something to get a detailed view of their item. And that detailed view would include things like the name of the item, the last date that it was purchased, the estimated number of days until the next purchase, and the number of times it's been purchased. And then also there should be some way on that item detail for them to go back to their list, whether it's an arrow or there's a number of different ways you could handle that. Any questions on that? Anything standing out? No?
Is this like a new page that they're going to, like, or is this going to be like a pop-up, or does it, we can decide that as a, you know, as a team?
Yeah, I think you can handle that as you see fit. My team did a modal. We started out with just a navigation to a new page, and then we transferred to a modal. I can't remember, Stacy, if you remember, if there was something more specific in the AC earlier where it was like navigate to a particular route, so it is like detail.
I don't think there ever was. You could do it either way. One thing that I would recommend is if you do go with a modal, spend some extra time looking into how to best make a modal accessible, because they like traditionally have pretty poor accessibility if not done right. So just pay attention to accessibility. But yeah, feel free to tackle it however you see fit. You're totally right, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Models can be, because I mean, essentially models are like an overlay on top of everything. Statistically, they make sense. Like when you design them, you just say be on top of everything, but everything under it is still there. And so, from an accessibility point of view, that can be pretty confusing for a screen reader or something like that. And I guess for myself, in the acceptance criteria, I see the word view, like a detailed view, and I guess in my mind, view is a term that is used very often in development, and every time I see view, I really think of it as like a new route, a new page, a new location. So I guess if it was up to me, I would probably create like a new view, a new page where we would go. But that's just my reflexes, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool too, because like when you do that, you do get a little bit more experience with React Router, and you could have URL parameters where you change the URL to reflect the item name or the item ID or something. So that can be kind of fun to play with too. I think another group did it so that when you click the item, like a component expands below that item with the item details. So it's like there's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
Right on. Issue 14. This is where we start getting into our styling. So as a user, I want the welcome screen to look pretty so the app looks professional and welcoming. The welcome screen a user sees before they've created their list looks something like the following or equivalent. Use your creativity. That's 1AC.
This is like, I want to point out too, like how Scott was saying, like on the later, like more design centric issues, you'll probably want to meet up. So what I would suggest is the team that takes this one, spend some time like really thinking through like what the design could look like, and have like a mob pairing session to sort of agree on those styles. Like, do we like, this color scheme? Do we like this style? Do we like these fonts? Do we like this layout? So that everybody can kind of get some buy-in. And what you can do is, if you're the one who takes this ticket, is like spend some time just getting together some ideas, so that you don't just have to like go in with, no idea, but instead come to a mob programming meeting with like, here's 10 different ideas that we had. What do you all think of these? What are your ideas? And sort of really spend time sort of detailing out what you're going to do before you jump into actually doing it. Save you a lot of time.
Yeah, when my team was doing this one, we mobbed and just chose like a set of colors and a few fonts, maybe a couple of font sizes, and that alone tied all of the rest of it together, and then you can add on from there.
Yeah, and if like you all want to use like a CSS framework, you can. If you just want to use vanilla CSS, you can do that too. But try and get like a finger on the pulse and check in with everybody. But again, like come to a mob programming meeting with some ideas of what you could do, so that there's some direction there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's, it might sound like, oh, it's a very simple ticket, easy peasy, and you can definitely like kind of, I was going to say brute force it, where you just like, in just like 3 lines of code, you're done. But I think it could be a great learning opportunity for you, and think about like the CSS tools you might want to leverage. And I'm really thinking really hard about something very specific called Flexbox. I guess I'm giving it away, but like Flexbox it's a very confusing. I mean, I think it can be very confusing when you never used it. Like, how does it work? What does it do? It's kind of magic. So it could be a great time to maybe experiment with that. And also, I think Stacy mentioned frameworks, and there's a big, very popular framework with React and CSS that uses components. I'm not gonna say the name of it, but it's a framework that is very widespread and used a lot. And so maybe having this learning opportunity there of like reading that documentation and understanding how that framework works can be very, very useful to jumpstart a lot of that knowledge there as well. So the
Yeah.
task might seem very easy, but it could be a great learning opportunity.
Oh, it's going to be a huge learning opportunity. So there's like, because like at Collab Lab, we've had this discussion, like, do we prompt people to use frameworks or do we have them do things in vanilla CSS? And there's like such stark pros and cons to each one. So like with a framework, it's like a beautiful way to get something up that looks good fast, that can be really complex and dynamic. But there's like a lot of the mechanics are kind of hidden behind the framework. So a lot of times you might not necessarily know what it's doing, you just know that it makes it look pretty. So you get really good results really fast and you get to learn how to use the framework, which is cool. But then there's also pros to using just vanilla CSS, that you really start to learn the mechanics of how CSS works. And then you can take that knowledge and apply it to, you know, any framework that you end up use. You understand it on a deeper level. So both are amazing options. It is fully up to you. I like how Eve was saying, like, you're probably going to want to dig into like how to use things like Flexbox or something. So I use Grid all day, every day. So if you have Grid questions, let me know. I'm less familiar with Flexbox, but it's a lot of the same things. So good luck.
All right, yeah, and so yeah, and absolutely, like I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of this, like CSS in React. So I'm always happy. Also, like Flexbox is something that's still magic to me. I love this, but I guess the last thing I want to mention. So I'm doing office hours this week, so it's gonna be on Thursday. I'm gonna make myself available. So you know, if you have anything, you can always chime in, and we can jump on a Zoom call and figure it out.
Thanks, Eve. So does anybody have any strong feelings about wanting to be on one of these tickets in particular?
Who are the pairs again? Is it, I guess, is it Fabrice and I, and then Leah and Mabel this week?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Just double checking.
I believe they were created. The threads were created in a channel, so it looks like
Oh,
in the
perfect. Yes.
channel we have Fabrice and Leah, and then Mabel and Leah as two pairs.
If it's okay with Fabrice, we can do the design one just because I have a fine arts background. And so I have a lot of like already predetermined things, like not, you know, people can think of, and a couple resources, if that's okay with everyone. If not,
Yeah, that's cool.
to take the other one. So
I'm game.
okay. Is that okay with you, Leah and Mabel, that we take this one and I can show you like the resources of like the font sizes and choices and, you know, different mock-ups that we create together?
That sounds great to me.
Okay, perfect.
The style guide for us.
Oh,
Amazing. So then it looks like the other one is for Mabel and Leah. Okay, so real quick before you go, because I saw Scott ask a question about backlog grooming. This is something you'll see on a lot of development teams where once a week or once every 2 weeks, you'll get together as a full team and do backlog grooming. And so usually you'll have a product manager that's putting together like these issues like we're looking at here. And you'll have some kind of Kanban board where you're managing your project. And so if this were our backlog grooming session, we'd open up this project just like this, and we'd look at everything in progress and be like, are the statuses of these tickets like legit? Are these actually in progress? Do they need to be moved along the board? Let's look at the upcoming tickets and make sure they're prioritized right, and go over like, do you have any questions about how to implement this or what the acceptance criteria are? Where you really like jump into this backlog of tickets and really like flesh them out a little bit and make sure you understand what you're working towards. That's all.
all right.
Anything
think-
else from anybody else on this weekly sync? I'm incredibly impressed with you all. You've done such a brilliant job. I'm really eager to see these final weeks come through because it's gonna like really bring the app to life, and I'm excited to see what it turns out looking like. Okay, with that, we will close this one down. We'll see you working in Slack. Share your learnings really loudly in there. Show up to office hours if you have questions about what you're building here. If you have questions about a career as a developer or your portfolio or your GitHub, whatever it might be. Or if you just want to come on and learn something new, I'm sure Eve can show you 100 things. that you could do. So, okay, have a beautiful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors if the air quality is terrible. And I love you all. Thank you for like doing this so well and being such an amazing team. Bye,
Right.
everyone.
See you, folks.